Konnichiwa, my dear viewers. Today, we're embarking on a journey through history, and I've got a tale to share that'll leave you absolutely captivated. It's the story of none other than Queen Elizabethan of England, a monarch who left an indelible mark on history. So, here's how the story goes. Picture the year 1558. Queen Elizabethan ascends the English throne, and the kingdom was buzzing with one burning question: who would be her husband? The matter was hotly debated in Parliament, and was on the lips of Englishmen from all walks of life. Now let me tell you, folks couldn't quite agree on who Elizabeth should marry, but they all knew one thing: a queen needed a king and heirs to secure the kingdom's future. The debates continued for years, with no consensus in sight. In the midst of it all, the most dashing and eligible bachelors in the realm, Sir Robert Dudley, the Earl of Essex, and Sir Walter Raleigh, vied for Elizabeth's hand. She didn't exactly discourage them, but she certainly kept them guessing. Her hints about her favorite suitor would often contradict one another. Then, in 1566, Parliament decided to take matters into their own hands. They sent a delegation to persuade Elizabeth to marry, fearing she'd be too old to bear children. While she didn't resist or encourage them, she remained a virgin nonetheless. Now here's where things get truly fascinating. Elizabeth played a delicate game with her suitors, and this made her the subject of countless fantasies and the object of cult-like admiration. The court physician, Simon Forman, even wrote in his diary about dreams involving her. Painters depicted her as Diana and other goddesses, and poets like Edmund Spenser wrote tributes to the Virgin Queen. In her conversations with the many suitors, they'd often employ bold innuendos. Elizabeth, however, didn't mind the playful banter, using it to keep her suitors interested yet at arm's length. But that's not all. Across Europe, kings and princes sought her hand in marriage, knowing that a union with Elizabeth would create alliances with England. The King of Spain, the Prince of Sweden, and the Archduke of Austria all courted her. Her polite refusals became something of a legend. Now onto the great diplomatic issue of Elizabeth's time, the revolt of the Flemish and Dutch lowlands, then under Spanish rule. Should England break ties with Spain and ally with France, thus encouraging Flemish and Dutch independence? By 1570, it seemed that an alliance with France was the way to go. France had two noble brothers, the Dukes of Anjou and Alencon, both vying for Elizabeth's hand. She kept them both hanging, and the matter simmered for years. The Duke of Anjou even made several visits, kissed Elizabeth in public, and called her sweet names. As Elizabeth flirted with both brothers, a treaty was signed, sealing peace between France and England. By 1582, Elizabeth felt it was time to gracefully end the courtship. In the case of the Duke of Anjou, she did so with a sense of relief. For the sake of diplomacy, she had allowed herself to be courted by a man she found physically repulsive. With peace between France and England secured, Elizabeth was no longer under pressure to bear children. She lived life as she wished and passed away as the Virgin Queen, leaving behind an unrivaled era of peace and cultural flourishing. And there you have it, an enthralling chapter in history, filled with intrigue, romance, and diplomacy. The life of Queen Elizabeth I. Please remember, until next time, arigato for joining us on this journey through the past.